All right, welcome to our 10th day of school. Now, our 10th day of school, as I already filled into our chart here, you can see that it takes up the whole top row. Now, with our grouping, what we're going to do is I want you to see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we can get 10 equal groups out of this. I'm trying to highlight it with blue so you can get a visual representation of that. Now, because we have our 10th day of school and we filled in the first full row, you can see that we have one of these rows, one whole row out of 10 rows. And so you can see that it's the same representation, 10 out of 100 and 1 out of 10. 10 is the same relationship. Well, let's see what happens when we go over here to our percents, fractions, and decimals. We have 10%. We have 10 over 100. And we have 10 hundredths. Now let's just look at a couple of these things. The 10 hundredths, if you'll notice, look where the 1 is. The 1 is in the tenths place value. So what we had yesterday, we went one, first day of school is we had 1 100th, then 2 100ths, then 3 100ths, 4 100ths, 5 100ths, 6 100ths, and then we were at 9 100ths. And now today, we are going to 10 100ths. And when we do that, when we go 10 100ths, we now have a 0 in the hundredths because we don't have any more broken up individuals in the 100. We only have one block of 10. So what we can do is we can actually get rid of that 0. Because as we know, the place values after the number in a place value, we could put zeros there and it doesn't matter. We could have 1 0 or 2 zeros or 3 zeros. This goes on infinitely. The same thing before. If there's no representation in the ones place value, we could have 0 there. We don't have anything in the tens and the 100. I mean, if we put zeros wherever they were needed, we would write an infinite number of zeros to the left and we would write an infinite number of zeros to the right. But we don't do that. As mathematicians, we write what's necessary to get the value that is being represented. And in this particular case, it's 1/10. Now, if you wrote 10 100ths, would you be wrong? No. But if you were asked on a test or a quiz or for your general understanding, if they said, write 10 hundredths into its simplest form, you would be able to know that 1/10 and 10 100ths are the same thing. Now let's look at our fractions here. We have 10 over 100. Now we can simplify. Remember I told us we've been working on our factors, and our factors of 10 are 1, 10, 2, and 5. And our factors for 100, we probably have it memorized by now, are 100, 1, 10, 10, 2, 50, 25, 4, 20, and 5. Oh my goodness, we have a lot of factors. I think I may have forgotten the 10 factors in the last video. But anyway, we know if we look at our factors for our numerator and our factors for our denominator, that 10 is our largest common factor. Now we do have 5 and we do have 2, but like we highlighted earlier, we would still get a bunch of different chunks. We want it to be the simplest form possible. So if I take 10 out of 10 and now that I have my common factors, I can simplify divide by 10, divide by 10, and 10 divided by 10 is 1, just what I did here. 10 divided by 10 becomes 1, and 100 divided by 10, and here I divided by 10 becomes 10. And so now I simplified 10 100ths to the same value as 1/10. And the percent, we know to convert a percent, you write the number that's in front of the percent sign, and you move the decimal point over 2 spaces. And that gives us the same thing as our decimal point value. Now, if some of this is still, you're kind of starting to grasp it, some things are still starting, just keep following along. Math is a lot like a language, like I repeat over and over again. And throughout this course of our 100 days, you'll hear so many things that eventually you'll start going, okay, not only am I hearing it, but I'm understanding it. And then before you know it, you're going to be able to make these same connections and make your same simplifications of fractions. But anyway, what an exciting day. Because when we do tenths, I'm going to share one other thing when we are dealing with tens. You all know that if we take any number, I don't care if it's single in the single digits and we multiply it by powers of 10. We've gone over this in class, but we know that by powers of 10 means that's how many zeros. We know 8 times 10 to the power of 3 is 8,000. The value is, the product is 8,000. Same thing, any number times any power of 10, we move the decimal point over by 2 spaces. So 235 would be 235 with 2 decimal points at the end, or 2 zeros at the end. And I've talked about this is usually classified that we add the zeros, and I want to get us to get away from it, because watch this. If I put the decimal point here, or I put the decimal point here, and I multiplied by 3 powers of 10, watch what happens. I move the decimal point over 1, 2, 3. So it becomes 1, 2, 3. So what we are doing is when we are multiplying by powers of 10, we are moving the decimal point to the right. And then we will get into, if we're dividing by powers of 3 or of 10, then the decimal point moves to the left. Just a simple introduction for right now. And as the year progresses, we will start getting more involved in multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. But I just want it to sink in that when we are multiplying by powers of 10, we are moving our decimal point to the right. We're not per se adding zeros. And then when we are dividing by powers of 10, we are moving the decimal point to the left of our number. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed 10. Tomorrow is our 11th day of school. Maybe do some predictions already of, do you think we'll be able to simplify? If so, explain why in the comments. And if not, also explain why.